Hey, and welcome to another episode of Making the Right Play. I'm your host Ishi with my co-host.
Manit.
Today we're bringing to the space another creative, Gimhana Dayananda. How's it going, Gimhana?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, and he's
I'm
got.
good. How's it going with you guys?
Oh yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
I'm fine as always. Okay, not really, but it's good.
Going my life.
But it's gotten better over the last few weeks. But yeah,
That's what we like to see. We like growth.
of
Yep.
course.
Yeah.
Like what have you been up to like these days? I guess like these days it's hard to say anything, but like for the last, let's say, like couple of months maybe.
Couple of months. Okay. I just finished up on college actually.
Okay,
October.
congratulations,
Yeah,
bro.
that's when I had
Yeah.
finals. So I just got off that, and yeah, it's apart from that, it's just been chill. I've just taken the time to get my mind right. It's been 3 years of grinding, and finally a few months to myself
Yeah.
before things get real in real life that I have to stop. But yeah, I'm excited though.
How was
Couldn't wait
like
to explain.
how was like your entire college experience though? Like do you look back, and is it some, because people have like there's a spectrum of like opinions when it comes to like college life, right? And I just wanted to
For
know
sure.
yours, like how was it like a positive experience, or like is it something that you look back and like you're like you have like a negative kind of like a bad aftertaste
You
to
know
it?
what, man?
Yeah.
Nah, I have no like resentment when it comes to like college,
Yeah.
because I always went to college with the mind of like going to college and getting my degree. Right?
Okay.
When your expectations that low, nothing can really like mess with you too hard, unless it's just like the system,
Yeah.
the education system in general, or like the way things work. But I try not to take anything to heart. But it's always there's gonna be something that comes your way anyways. It's different people in college. It's the whole world out there,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
Sri Lanka too, being such a small place, and like with when you put so many teenagers into one building, things will get hectic. It will. Like there is
Yeah.
no way around it.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
isn't. Like
Yeah. And like I feel like, so since I've known you for like, I don't know, like 12 years ish. Okay, maybe not, maybe
yeah,
a little less
since
than it.
what, like
Like, yeah, at least
fifth
grade two ish.
grade, third grade, something like that.
Third grade, yeah, exactly. So, like, I feel like you kind of like learned how to like be like really true with yourself, like, because like when you're in school, especially like in a school like ours, like you put into like this random like box situation where like you like I
Oh
don't
yeah, for
think
sure.
I don't think people like you were able to like actually like pursue your own creative goals because you were told to do all these like respective subjects and whatnot.
Mm,
So like,
yeah,
yeah, just could you just give us like I don't know, it's just interesting even to me like to know like how like you went from like you were just really, like really like you was a really sweet guy in school or whatever, and then you grew on to be like this like really cool creative with like all the things that you're doing now. Because I never even like knew about like those interests and whatnot. So like how did you kind of like grow into that path, and like and this is obviously something that's like that's not in the comfort zone of someone who went to a school like ours. So like, yeah.
for sure. That's the thing, right? When you said you didn't know that, like, you didn't know about interests like that, or you didn't know about the sort of mindset that comes with it.
Yeah.
I didn't either. I
Okay.
didn't either
Okay.
until yeah, I did my A levels, and I was ready to go study law, right?
Yeah.
I just had to give my parents the okay, and I could go apply for visa.
Yeah.
I could go and just settle down there, and then get a part-time job, whatever, and then apply for college.
Yeah.
Because I had like some relative there also.
Okay.
So I could, it was bound to happen, but it's literally last minute. I was like, no, I don't want to go,
Okay.
and I don't know. It's just I feel like
Oh yeah, you did want
um
to do law. I remember, like I think when I was in yeah, when I was, so you switched to like the national, like the local A-level stream, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna do law. Like
Okay, okay,
that
okay.
was that was that was a hard plan, but I don't know. I just said no.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't even think about why I said no.
yeah,
I had
You
no
just
thought
didn't you
whatsoever.
okay, okay,
Yeah, I had no thought whatsoever on like saying no either.
okay,
I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't considered my other options. Nothing. I just said no.
okay, okay.
And so a month went by of me just chilling, figuring it out.
Yeah.
And my mom came to me. So I kept like looking for degrees, I guess, but
Okay,
none of them stuck out. And I didn't think it was okay for me to study like creative things,
okay. You thought it
let
wasn't okay?
alone
I'm
fashion
sorry, I
design.
didn't get you. Like you thought it
Yeah,
wasn't okay.
I didn't think
Okay,
it was okay.
okay.
Yeah, like because we've never spoken about that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Even in
yeah, yeah,
school,
exactly.
like
It was never the thing. No.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know there was a fashion design degree in Sri Lanka.
Okay, 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 okay. Cool. Makes sense.
I didn't even know. Yeah. So my mom came to me and she was like, "Oh, there's this fashion design degree. Do you want to do it?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, let's just check it out." Like, but yeah, that's just how it happened.
Got you. Got
And
you.
from there, I feel like it's changed so much. It's changed me. It's changed the world around me. It's changed like the way I see the world. I know a lot of kids like grew up creative,
Okay.
but I did too. I used to draw too and all that, but
Okay. 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 Okay.
I've never been like I don't know. I've never like explored myself like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why I feel so satisfied with my college journey too.
Yeah.
Even
Good.
though I didn't like have the craziest college journey, I did it all. Like I did my work. I partied
Yeah.
real hard. Like I lived college the best way I could possibly live it. Like,
Yeah.
but also at the same time, I also took the time to just like understand who I was. You know?
Yeah. And that's very contrasting
Yeah,
how you were in
yeah,
school, right? Yeah.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
in school, I mean, we all behave the same way too.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
alone like dress the same way. Because we had a behavioral code.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
even?
Yeah.
Right?
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Imagine if you put 7 billion people into like one big school and
Yeah.
ask them to behave a certain way.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that they do in small scale. That's stupid. Like
I get what you mean. I get
that's
what
what
you
it
mean.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, and that's a fair point you make about like schools trying to enforce this code of rigor, and yeah, it just there's a bunch of things wrong with the education system, and that's one of them. But anyway, again, but I think I find it fairly interesting, like how you like ended up like deciding to like go from like, oh, I want to study law to, oh, hey, fashion degree might be an option, or like fashion design might be an option. But like, do you want to talk about like
Yeah.
your like history with fashion, and like maybe where you started, like where you started realizing that you had like creative talents and things like that, and like what you started off with, what were your first projects, things like that.
I think I've always had good role models when it came to fashion. That doesn't mean I didn't dress super cool though, you know. I dressed pretty trash when we was in school. But that's only because like I didn't know where to get my clothes, you know.
Hmm.
Okay.
But I've always had the same, but not the same. I have new ones too. But the core inspiration when it comes to fashion or creativity has always been the same. It's always been Michael Jackson.
Oh.
Always.
Interesting.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Like,
Amazing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, because you look at that right, and what he did and the way he did it
Mm.
in the 80s
Yeah.
when when uh androgyny, what, how
Oh,
would you
androgyny.
mention it,
Yeah.
when, yes, that when males started to basically dive into whole the basically a pretty boy culture, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it started off in a very extreme state. I don't call it extreme the way things have been, but it started off with a very it started off basically with like 80s rock bands, where dudes in rock bands would dress very feminine. They put on makeup, real tight leather pants,
Yeah.
and like crop tops, and just like this play the most intense music you've ever heard at the time,
Yeah.
and everyone's just blown away. And then but rock music was founded by a black man, but it was popularized by white culture,
Okay.
white teenage culture, right?
Yep.
But when Michael did it, he was a black man, and he was like this revolutionary thing for like a person of color.
Yeah.
act and behave and like basically just explore all sides of his creativity, just not like music wise,
Yeah.
the way he did his album covers, the
Oh
way he
yeah,
dressed, the
yeah,
way he
yeah,
walked.
yeah,
Yeah, every aspect of Michael's life, I feel like, has some sort of creativity put into it.
yeah,
There was nothing he did that he didn't think about. Like he literally thought about every little detail that was put into it.
yeah. I was a huge fan of his, like in terms of like his
I
music and
remember.
all. Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
See, like,
yeah,
didn't Michael have like super deep pockets in his pants too,
yeah. I think
just so
so.
he
I
could
think
put a just so he could put his Cartier pen inside, so he can
yeah,
sign like fans like little pictures or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's detail, man. Like,
Yeah,
he thought about the pockets too. Like, bruh.
yeah. Like I never looked at his like the fashion like in depth, but like once you like ran over all of this, like it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like yeah, like yeah,
Yeah,
it's and I think at that and then we take it for granted. Like at that age, he was like yeah, he kind of like he was the pioneer of like
for
this
sure.
entire age, right? Like so, yeah. I think we tend to forget that sometimes. But yeah, I'm glad to know.
And I think that's a good point you also bring up about like Michael, like, well, like at least like rock bands bringing in like the introduction of like femininity into menswear, because
Yeah,
feminine,
Mm.
like menswear and like feminine elements were supposed to be like completely like polar opposites, and they
Yeah,
showed
because
us that
see, menswear became like menswear started off like menswear, as in like fashion menswear,
Mhm.
yeah,
became this very functional thing after World War II, right?
Yep.
And it became functional thing for women as well. But then the whole second wave feminism was it started off, it picked off, and by the time it was the 50s, you saw women exploring. But men were still wearing the same pants and the same suit until
oh
it
yeah,
was time, until it was like, and that's when like subculture started off too, like in the 50s and 40s. There was the greaser subculture, dudes in leather jackets, white t-shirts, ripped jeans, and we've seen it happen. It's crazy to think that you have all these things from back then and you could still put on a leather jacket and be fly
yeah,
like, in 2020.
yeah,
Who would have thought, right? That's what I'm saying, like Michael Jackson, man. Because see, if you take it in like a music standpoint or like a influential standpoint, Michael Jackson influenced Kanye West, right? Kanye West influenced um the no Kanye West influenced Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi influenced Travis Scott. Travis Scott influenced The Weeknd. The Weeknd influenced XXX.
yeah.
XXX influences Lil Uzi, and now we're here. Like
It's a
music,
yeah,
modern day music was born off basically Michael Jackson, and I think it applies to modern day artistry as well.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
It's an interesting point you bring up about art history and like like the continuity of the culture. But yeah,
Yeah.
I guess yeah. So, Gimhana, what has your like experience with working or like, doing fashion or learning fashion been like? And do you want to talk about like what it's been like to actually like like look at the industry and like look at what the projects available are, what the projects you did are, and just you want to give us a rundown on that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. When it, so basically, are you asking me what sort of fashion I look into,
Yeah,
or are you
yeah, pretty much.
asking what? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, if I had to be buried in like a specific brand, it would be YSL. You know,
Hmm.
something about the all black, and it's so simple. But I guess that works for me because even all of my work has never been loud.
Okay.
I've always all of my concepts ever, like 3 years in college, and all of them, all like that's what, all like six different projects, I think, 6 or 7 different projects. All of them have never been loud. I've always tried to blend in to the surrounding rather than just stand out.
Okay.
But I feel like you look at brands these days, or you look at clothes, and everyone's trying to be this loud voice. No one's trying to keep it low key. No one's looking out for that guy that just wants to be sipping on a drink at the club and
Yeah.
just chilling.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be like center of attention. I don't get that. Like less is more. I feel like I
Okay.
think that's like a very true statement. Less is always more. But if I had to say which brand influenced me the most when it comes to fashion, I'd say Dior for sure. YSL. I pick three, right? Dior, YSL, and I'll probably give the last one to a Cold War. That's like a techwear brand. Very clean, very functional.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All
Gotcha.
of it has purpose. Yeah.
Gotcha. 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 And I was just wondering, like because like people have like different like I've heard a lot of like different storylines, like a fashion career and whatnot. I was wondering like if you had any struggles, kind of like starting off with like the projects that you were doing, like whether that there were like difficulties in like the way you kind of like build up your career when like you especially in a setting like Sri Lanka, like because I'm not too aware of like that, and I was just like curious on like what the struggles were for you, for someone like you.
Basically, to explore fashion, the struggle.
Okay. Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Oh,
I didn't get
oh,
you.
you. No, I mean, yeah, like just in general, like with the projects you were doing, like whether there was, whether there was any like anything that kind of like held you back, or whether like in terms of building a career in fashion, like were there any struggles that you either like saw
Yeah, for
coming?
sure. I
Yeah,
think yeah, yeah. I think it's to do with how you put your ideas on paper. Cause see, I'm in college, right?
yeah,
I need to be able to. Oh, I was in college. I had to be able to put my ideas on paper so that the people can ask.
okay,
But that's important. Don't get me wrong. That's very important to have like that education. But you can also do without it.
okay,
So many people have done it without it too.
okay. So, like,
A lot.
yeah, go on. No, I'm sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, it's like a lot of these like big designers, Yves Saint Laurent, for example,
Okay,
he couldn't like draw
okay,
or he couldn't drape either.
okay.
He made clothes without drawing or draping it
Yeah,
over.
yeah,
Like I mean,
yeah,
who's to say that you need this degree? I
yeah,
have this degree
yeah,
because I chose to have it, and we live in like this sort of capitalist environment where I need to show I spend some money on this certificate
yeah, 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 yeah. That
to
makes
be
sense.
allowed. Yeah, to
Yeah,
be allowed in your institution and like designed for you people. I have to like show this framed up certificate to you that I spend money on.
yeah. And I was actually having like this conversation with a friend yesterday, and like what he kind of told me is that real education is just like being able to kind of think by yourself, right? And I feel like a lot of universities and a lot of degrees, like kind of like they make you conformist, right? Like you kind of like go to this one
Yeah,
syllabus and you do really well in this specific curriculum. So, and I feel
for sure.
like something like fashion and like like a very creative kind of like environment like that. Like, do you think being conformed to a curriculum could actually do more harm than good, if anything? Like, because like, do people really get the chance to kind of like explore their creativity in a space like that?
Look, I think if you're going to college,
Yeah.
you need to be put into that,
Okay.
you know, because see, at the end of the day, if you're gonna be working for someone,
Yeah.
there's gonna be restrictions to what you do, right?
Okay.
There's always gonna be a project that they give you a project. Basically, there's
Yeah.
do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
Even if it's the biggest fashion house in the world, especially if it's the biggest fashion house in the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna say you can't use this print
Yeah.
this season.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when it comes to college and like the curriculum, I think it's important that you put creatives in a box just to see how far they can get to the edges of the box,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
without actually like breaking through the box.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you need to be able to perform under that pressure,
Yeah.
under
Okay.
those
Yeah.
guidelines,
Yeah.
and explore yourself the hardest. Because if you give a person as much freedom as he wants, he probably turn up with nothing,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That
right?
makes a lot
You
of
need
sense.
that sort of like stress on you all the time. You need that stress on your brain.
Okay.
You can't have complete freedom and like put out good work. You need that stress is good. It's
Okay,
good
okay,
for
so
your
it's
brain.
healthy. Okay,
Yeah,
got you, got you,
yeah,
got you,
it's healthy.
got
Yeah,
you. That makes sense.
I think I've always been like, you know, yeah, I've always like kind of shared what you said. Like having some sort of restriction is probably more helpful
Yeah,
than having no
true,
restriction because
true.
that's what really forces you know you have to have a box to think outside of, right? Essentially, right? So like have
Yeah,
understanding your restriction, understanding your position and your limitations are, I think, super important. And as skills, if you understand how to like thrive within a space that is constricting and that is restricting, it'll serve you better once you're done with it. Yeah, I think
See, for
yeah.
my final project, they let us choose any concept you ever think of,
okay,
right?
Mhm.
And a lot of people like messed up at first. A lot of people felt very, very out of zone
okay,
because they didn't have that freedom before,
okay.
right? See, it's alternating between like having so much freedom and not having so much freedom because you don't want to work for someone your entire life, right?
Yeah,
Let's say you've been working for someone your whole life, probably until you're like what 50 years old,
yeah,
and you decide, okay, now's the time. I'm not taking experience into account. I'm just talking in like in this situation only where your mind's been trained to work under somebody.
yeah,
I'm not talking about experience at all. But when your mind's been trained to work under somebody, let's say you work for somebody for 50 years
yeah,
and you decide to retire and you say, you know what, I want just like open a small boutique
yeah.
in like I don't know like southern Italy or France or wherever it is. Okay, have like a tiny little house and the boutique will be at the ground floor and I'll live on top of it and I'll be designing little things, like little clothes, um, just to get by. How are you going to do that?
Mhm.
It would drive you insane, right? That switch in pace would drive you insane.
Yeah,
Having so much like solitary like freedom
yeah.
just to explore yourself like that, I think it's about where you draw the line.
Okay,
Honestly, when it comes to college too,
that makes sense.
it's important to know when you draw the line.
Okay, okay.
100%. Yeah.
And like in terms of like like that was interesting like segue into like careers and whatnot. Like, do you think you would personally like I know you like worked in fashion and all of that for a while, but like do you think you'd like actually pursue like a career in fashion, or do you have like other plans from this point on?
I think I pursue a career in fashion, but
Okay.
also I don't want to like I don't know, man. I want to die and be known as a fashion designer for some reason,
You don't want to be.
or like yeah,
Yeah,
I don't want to like in my when you Google someone,
yeah,
it says like if
but they
you're
do.
American
Yeah,
and you're a fashion designer, yeah, and it says American fashion designer, right?
yeah,
I don't want to die and that like I don't want that single thing to appear next to my name.
yeah.
I want like I've always worked in broader strokes,
Okay,
you know. So I feel like at the end of the day, I just want to if I could be remembered as an artist instead of just a fashion designer, that would be like that.
okay.
That's when I know I've made it.
You made it. Okay,
I'd
okay.
be satisfied then with like where my career has come to. Because I don't think I'll stop at just. I've always been interested in music. I've always been
Mm.
interested in architecture, and I've always kept saying that if I didn't do fashion design at college, I would have probably chosen interior because they had that option too.
Okay, okay, okay.
So it's,
And you said graphic,
I
and I think you do like graphic design and all that now too. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
because see, I did fashion design marketing, right?
Okay.
So a
Okay.
lot of like graphic work comes into play. I need to do branding, I need to do promotion.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah,
That makes sense. Okay. And I
Yeah,
think,
and oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
No, because I think Ishira and I, before we kind of started the podcast, like Ishira was kind of curious about like the entire brown culture thing about around fashion. So like I think Ishira should kind of pose a question.
yeah. I think we talked to one of our previous guests, Sansik, about this, like the whole like the brown ideal of devaluing creative spaces and things like that.
Okay.
And it's such a problematic stance, and I think it definitely needs to be eliminated. Because I said this on the previous one as well, but without the creatives, we don't have anyone to do the storytelling for our generation, right?
for
And
sure.
like, do you have any like things you want to say about like like how we as part of our generation can fight against that kind of viewpoint and can like, you know, essentially like make people realize the value of creative spaces and you know appreciate it, you know, to the extent that we appreciate, you know, the engineers and lawyers that, you know, it is an important career for sure, and I think brown culture needs to understand that. But do you have any takes on that?
For sure. I mean, what are you going to engineer if you don't have an architect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to make? Right? If you are as technical as you possibly could be, then you need someone else with the other side of the brain, right? That's only one side that you have. You need someone with the other side of the brain to navigate you.
Yep.
Like, I think, see, with brown people and what's like colored people in general, it's become much, much better over the years.
Okay.
I'd say since, to be honest, since even when we were in school, even when Manik and I were in school, we were quite conservative, weren't we? Like,
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
and that
Yeah.
was when, like, yeah,
Yeah.
2016,
Yeah. Yeah.
we were conservative for some reason. Out like,
Like I feel like we were kind of like we were told that we were wrong if we weren't, right? Like so like and like we that was the
yeah,
brand of like especially our school. Like it was just like weirdly conservative.
yeah,
You could never ask why. If you did, like you're screwed. Like end of story. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like you could never dress like outside the way that they dressed either.
No. No. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a management enforced thing.
Yeah.
It
It
was
was.
a it
I
was a
think that
student
that
enforced thing.
yeah, it was more of like the management. I think it was more of like if it just like planted and like all of us just like went with it because that's just how we grew up, right? Unfortunately, that's just how kind of how we grew up. Like it was
I think
very
with the management is what happened is they gave us so many extreme ideologies
yeah,
that even when they meant something little,
yeah,
our minds were already like trained to take
yeah,
it really seriously.
yeah, yeah,
Like when it came to like dressing, all they ever said was dress presentable, right?
yeah.
They never said like they never explained to us what presentable was.
Yeah, I think it's more of like in school. Like I think there were certain points where like they'd say okay, like they got. I think there were certain people who just got specific and like when one thing like they said okay, don't do this respective thing, don't dress this way. I think everyone it just like flowed around a lot, and I think at the same time, like the entire ecosystem just got toxic after a while. Parents got into the mix, and I think like students started saying stuff to other. The entire kind of like ecosystem was just not conducive for someone who
That's what I
wanted
don't get
to.
about like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. See, that's what I don't get about like the way people dress in school either, because they dress in like a luminous Nike T-shirt and like
yeah,
match their luminous Nike sneakers to their T-shirt, and they'd call it like a great fit. But I never got that. Bro. Like I was just pulling up in like
yeah.
button-down shirts for like the school concerts and stuff, and everyone just gave me weird looks like I
Yeah,
did something
same,
wrong.
same, same, same. If I wore a
I never
shirt, like
understood that.
it was the end of game for me too. Like it'd be like they'd say like all sorts of weird shit, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, I get what you
Yeah,
mean.
like for some reason wearing a shirt was wrong. Like it's it's like the most basic form of like clothing you could put on except for
Yeah,
a t-shirt. But why would you wear a t-shirt everywhere you go?
yeah, yeah.
You probably sleep in that t-shirt at home. I don't understand, man.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
I
fair.
don't understand. Yeah.
Get what you mean.
But
Okay.
it's gotten much better though.
I think Ishiro just had like this interesting question. I think Gimhana. I'm just very curious to see Gimhana's response for that
Okay,
game.
yeah. So this is the final question we ask all our guests. Uh, if you could lick the foot of anybody in the world, fictional or
Mhm.
non-fictional, dead or alive, and gain their quote unquote power, defined as you like it, whose foot would it be?
Wait, what do you mean power?
Whatever you want it to be.
Like any skill or like whatever it is, like
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
So it could be like power as like an authoritarian government leader, or power as like an ability and skill, or
Yeah.
you know, yeah, something,
Hmm.
anything you want it to be.
Or their life in general. Yeah. Anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Man, y'all put me on the spot with this one. I also want to give a nasty answer, low key, but like really trying to keep it PG in my head.
Yeah, keep it PG, please.
No, I got you. I got you. Okay, probably Drake.
Okay.
Interesting. You want to justify that, or
Just cause like
yeah?
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Just I don't know, man. Drake's. Have you like y'all ever like think about Drake? Drake's like whole thing gets to me like every time. We saw him on Nickelodeon acting, and
Yeah.
now he's like the biggest rapper in the world. How does that make sense to you guys? It doesn't make sense to me. Like
I mean,
this is some I don't know, man.
we've also seen like a similar character arc with like Ariana Grande, right? She was on Nickelodeon and she was an actor,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting.
But see,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. No.
I feel like Ariana Grande is more like a normal person than Drake.
Yeah,
But Drake has like Rolls Royces that have like the owl popping out instead of the angel. He has, what even like his house like $100 billion some shit. Like you like I'm just saying Drake. I don't know, man. He's a very mysterious character.
yeah, it's interesting.
I just want to see a day in Drake's life to see what goes on behind the scenes. It's very. I've always been very
Intrigued.
curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense. Okay.
Oh, yeah, all that.
just like the sheer power of money and like influence. Drake.
Yeah, I think we see it here a lot, like in Toronto and all that, like going around. And it's like, yeah, he's a big deal here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, bro. I feel like Drake's big gangster.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like
Drake's got cool, man.
yeah.
He might rap about like love and like emotional shit, but man, Drake big gangster. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
always giving me those vibes. Drake man stuff.
yeah,
Well, I love him though.
yeah. Yeah.
Interesting enough. Cool. I think that wraps up this episode. I think there was a lot of interesting stuff we talked about and some hot takes here. But I think it's been an awesome episode, and I just want to thank Gimhana for coming on and sharing his views with us. Yeah.
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 I hope you had a fun time. But yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
And to all the viewers who made it this far, thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. And thanks for listening to another episode of Making the Right Play. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Content. This will keep you posted on new episodes, bonus content, and blooper reels. We hope you make the right play.